implied
Endorsement.
endorsement, and I needed to stay with it. That was my.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening, whether you're joining us here in the council chamber or you're joining us on BevCam, with our thanks to Kim and the BevCam booth for having us live and streaming. I would like to, as we typically do, just take a moment to walk through the agenda before calling the meeting to order, just so that we'll have a sense of what's before us this evening. We do have two presentations. We have members of our Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee here to offer us an update. Thank you for being here with us. And we also have a trash and recycling update from the mayor and the administration. So we'll have those two presentations. We do have one member of the public who signed up to speak, and we will get that portion in as quickly as we can, knowing that we also do have a posted public hearing for 7:30 and 7:45, and we'll need to at least open those at the times that they are posted, and then we'll go from there. Then we have some routine business to take care of. We'll take a brief break for some subcommittee work, and we'll be back to finish everything up. So with that, I'll officially call to order this regular meeting of the Beverly City Council, Monday, March 16th, 2026, 7:00 p.m. Ms. Kent, will you please call the roll?
Crawley. Here. Feldman. Here. Hausman.
Here.
Milady.
Here.
Rotundo. Here. Sonia. Here. Spang. Here. St. Hilaire.
Here.
And Flowers.
Here. Thank you very much, Ms. Kent. Councilor Milady, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And I'd ask that we all remain standing for a moment of silence for Peter Silva, who is a Beverly resident and also was the Essex police chief.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Councilor Milady, for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and thank you all for taking that moment of silence. As I mentioned, that is for Chief Peter Silva, a Ward 2 resident and longtime Beverly resident, and also, as I mentioned, a very long and dedicated public safety career. He retired or ended his career as the Essex police chief, and he passed away, unfortunately, recently following a journey with cancer. And so we want to hold Chief Silva and his family, his friends, and his communities, both the community where he has resided and called home and the communities that he has served, in our hearts, and thank them for sharing him with so many as he worked diligently throughout his career. So thank you all for taking that moment of silence. Let's now go to our first presentation. We'll go right to those. We have, as I mentioned, members of our Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and we'll have them come to the podium and offer us an update. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, good evening. I'm Kyle Cunugent from the Bike and Pedestrian Committee. With me tonight is Jonathan Salt, Paul Gentili, and Jared Porter. Not with me is John Hershey and Lisa Chandler. They couldn't be here. Since our inception at the end of 2023, and for the last, thank you, and for the last 6 quarters, we've been focused on trying to develop a basic understanding of what the city requires for bicycle infrastructure and what the city is experiencing in terms of pedestrian safety. So to develop that understanding, we launched a number of initiatives in parallel. First and foremost, we did a deep dive and we looked at incident data between motor vehicles and pedestrians and motor vehicles and cyclists. We studied the period of 2020 through 2025. And during that period, on average, the city experiences a pedestrian issue on average about every 3.5 weeks and a bicyclist issue every 6 to 6.5 weeks. We understand where those incidents happen, time of day, frequency, location, etc. What we're doing now is working with the Beverly Police Department to get a better understanding of what we can do to minimize instances from happening, both frequency and severity of incidents. What we also did is we took the bike map that the city had in 2019, a 40-mile conceptual bike map. We integrated that with the multi-year paving plan. And as of the end of this year, that 40-mile map will be approximately 80% complete. The numbers and the cost data are in your briefing deck. What we're doing is putting paint on pavement and signage. That's unprotected bike lanes. We are not advocating for protected bike lanes at this point in time. What we're going to do is install counter units at key intersections in the city to understand usage. And once we have that usage data, we will come back with recommendations about what additional infrastructure requirements there might be. Most notably, putting high-impact colors on pavement to make them safer and more visible. To understand pedestrian safety, we launched a series of walk audits. And in 2025, they were ward-based walk audits based on incidences. We had a number of audits conducted. Some were better attended than others. But based upon input from participants, we've created a database with engineering of where we have pedestrian concerns. And for 2026, we will continue the ward-based audits when requested, but we're now working with Beverly Public Schools. I've met with the assistant superintendent, and starting in May 1st and through June 15th, we're going to conduct walk audits at all the schools. Once we complete those audits, we're going to have, and we have the usage data on bicyclists, we're going to be positioned to come back to the City Council in November with some very specific recommendations of where we may use high-impact colors, how many flashing pedestrian beacons, sets of lights we may need in different places, where we may need special work done in crosswalks, et cetera. Now, this is an update to material we shared previously. What's in your deck that we haven't discussed previously is a document on what's called Vision Zero. Vision Zero is a global initiative. It's in Europe primarily and the US. It's about rethinking your municipality with the lens of safety. And it's really quite simple. It's very theoretical. Some communities have tried implementations and failed. Some communities have tried implementations and succeeded. Massachusetts has a lot of resources at the state and regional level focused on Vision Zero. We're plugged into all that. And what you have in front of you in your briefing deck, and Paul's going to cover this in more detail, is a strategic framework that we want to take and review with all the different departments in the city and vet that pretty thoroughly, and then come back again in November with a recommendation of a Vision Zero framework for your review and approval. Now, what would that mean? That would mean that as we're doing things in the city, we're being very explicit to understand the safety ramifications of that. That's all it is, right? But you want to make it granular so it's effective and it's real. So at this point, I want to turn it over to Paul. He leads our Vision Zero initiative. Jonathan Salt leads our bike initiative. Jared leads our initiative on incident reporting.
Good evening. Let me just get this set up so I don't show you my Little League spreadsheet. What is he on? Is he majors or is he majors? I can't reveal that. We got, there it is. We just had the draft on Sunday, last night, so. Where is it? There it is. All right, so let's see if this works. So the 4-page document that you have in your briefing doc is a distilled version of the Boston MPO, the Boston Region MPO Vision Zero document that they put out in June of 2025. So just, 6 months ago or so. And Vision Zero, as Carl stated, it's more of a theory, right, of what are we attempting to accomplish with our safety on our streets. And the vision, right, it's right built into the title, the vision is 0 traffic fatalities and serious injuries in the region that it's implemented, in our case, Beverly. Will it always be 0? No. Will it be 0 immediately? No. The goal, the vision, is to keep those traffic fatalities and serious injuries going down on a downward trajectory. If you look at the data that Jared has pulled over the He went back in time, and he's now going forward. He's collecting that present-day data. We're on a good trend. Both lines are trending down. The bicycle incidents versus vehicles, and then also the pedestrian incidents versus vehicles are both trending down, which is good, which means that the things that we are doing, at least we'd like to think so, are having that positive impact to drive the serious injuries and the traffic fatalities towards zero. That's the vision, right? The goal, of course, is to continue reducing these, right? And I think the key thing that we're all looking for at this time is low cost, right? Carl mentioned we're not advocating for divided, right, bikeways, right? Those are very expensive to install. We're talking low-cost initiatives that will actually have an impact in driving us toward that goal of Vision Zero. And then I just put up the 5 guiding principles. Those are just directly copied from your briefing doc. But safety over speed, right? A lot of our roads are designed for throughput of cars and trucks, vehicles on the roadway. If we flip that mentality, and with the understanding that the faster that these vehicles travel on our roads, the less safe they make everyone, including themselves, in the vehicle, we can maybe start to have an impact on the severity of the incident when it occurs, right? Because it will occur, which leads us to the second point. Human error is inevitable. We can't take the human factor out of the roadway. It's with us for probably all of our lifetimes, right? That's just the reality of it. So we have to keep that in mind. Using data. Jared is a great example of that. He has been pouring through all of the the incident data in this city for the past 5 years. And through this committee's work, we will continue looking at it year over year and comparing it to how we're doing so we have a metric. But also using the data of where these crashes occur and when and under what conditions and all of these things. Without those little inputs, we have more trouble as a community figuring out what to do and what might work in those scenarios. Equity and accessibility, meaning who is the most at risk for injury on our roadways? Someone on a bike, someone walking. Those are the two most at risk, right? So that's where we want to kind of focus our energy. And then a shared responsibility. This is going to be the really long-term point where the commitment from this current city council and then future city councils toward this vision of zero traffic fatalities and serious injuries, keeping that going, and then coordinating throughout all of the city departments on what that actually means. Now, that's not necessarily the role of the city council, but your support, right, is key to making that happen. So we mentioned we're working with engineering to overlay the bike map from 2019 with the current paving plan. If we're not coordinating that, that's not going to happen, right? The road's going to get paved, the lines are going to go down, and now we're done for 20, 30 years. Now we're behind, right? So if we're staying on top of what roads we're paving, we can actually make improvements in a good amount of time as these things are happening. Working with engineering to figure out what's next, right? Working with the schools, working with the Parks Department. Where are these trouble areas that we could make more safe for our more vulnerable users, and what do those improvements look like? And then, of course, what do they cost? And what is the timeline for implementation? So that's kind of what we're getting at with this Vision Zero and how it applies to us in Beverly. For context, we have already approved in this city, maybe some of these members of the city council approved it, is lowering the speed limit citywide to 25 miles an hour unless otherwise posted. There's that little caveat in there, I believe. And then 20 mile per hour slow zones around school zones and these types of things. The next step is to embed these safety decisions into the whole thinking of all of the departments within the city, anything that has to do with the roadway and users on the roadway, right, should start to take these recommendations into consideration. Focus our safety improvements on the high injury streets and the intersection. That goes back to data. Where's the data telling us that these incidents are happening? This committee is working hard to continually gather that data and working with the police department so that we have better reporting on what those incidents actually look like when they occur. Targeted enforcement and public education. This is the second one with this near miss reporting system. It's important because you've all been on a road, either as a driver of a car or as a pedestrian or as a bike rider, potentially, where there was a near miss, and you go, whoa, and then that's it. Nothing happens. There was not an incident. It nearly happened, and it could have been really bad. But we have no way right now of figuring out where those occur and what that actually means. So that's kind of the next step of what we're trying to figure out is how do we do that? What does that mechanism look like? I want this to become more of a discussion, but I'm just going to throw it. I use the My Beverly app quite a bit to report things around my area as I'm moving around, and it's been really great. I've had really good experience with that. Maybe this is another thing that we can build into that, right? I'm not saying that's how we do it, but that's kind of the direction that where my brain is going. Continue building the connected pedestrian and bicycle network. Of course, I think we're 8 or 9 miles away, Jonathan, something like that, on that 40-mile of usable roadway that kind of makes sense to connect the bicycle network. And then the pedestrian network obviously is being built out as we're redoing streets, as we're redoing sidewalks, curb cuts, and bump outs and things that kind of increase safety overall for these vulnerable road users. And then integrate safety into routine maintenance using a Vision Zero checklist. There was a little appendix in your, it's a draft, right? It's something that we're gonna pass around. We're gonna go, back to the police department, the city engineering, all of these things where these decisions get made, sometimes siloed because they have a focus of what they're trying to, their goal. And if we can kind of like just overlap this a little bit and say, what do you think makes sense to keep so that we can move this vision forward? So the takeaway is practical, low-cost actions to prevent serious crashes and protect vulnerable road users. That's the goal of this whole theory for Beverly. So I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can, but that's the net.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gentili, and thank you to the whole group. I just want to check in. Are there other presenters from your group?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
No, I wanted this to be a little bit, get your feedback.
I definitely hear that. I just wanted to make sure I was managing the time well, and so I appreciate that. Counselors, we have about 5 minutes maybe for questions, just given the rest of the meeting and the schedule. But we do also know that we've got this great resource, these great folks will be able to be in conversation going forward. But are there questions from the council or comments? Councilor St. Hilaire.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Peter. First off, thank you for your work on this. I think, we hear a lot about concerns about speeding and public safety on our roads. So I think the mission, speaks to us. I guess, question about your relationship to the Parking and Traffic Commission, Sergeant Nicholson, are you involved in working with him? And, to fund these improvements, is there a budget or where does that come from?
Let me address that. First of all,
Can you, come to the microphone? Especially so folks on BevCam can follow.
We've met with the Traffic Safety Department, Sergeant Nicholson, several times. Jarrett and Sergeant Nicholson have a great relationship going through the data. We actually gave the sergeant a draft of the Vision Zero document to critique for us, which he loved. In terms of budget, et cetera, when we come back to you in November, we will be working with the right resources in the city to prepare a grant request to the state. And we think there are funds available for the application of high-impact colors. They cost much more than regular paint and pavement, and they require annual update. And we're going to try to get pedestrian lights from the state. So we think we can do that. Also, I want to emphasize something. On bicycle infrastructure, we're just starting. Paint on pavement and signage is just starting. A broader definition of bicycle infrastructure is safe bicycle parking, it's access to mass transit, it's bike share programs. One of the things we're going to do is start pursuing, when are we ready to participate in a regional bike share program? We may not have the economics to do it ourselves, but we may, when we combine with other adjacent communities, there's a possibility. Also, Beverly's a participant in what's called the North Shore Bike Collaborative. There are right now 11 communities involved in that. We get together twice a year. One meeting is with MassDOT, excuse me. The other meeting is we just share with each other how we learn together. There are about 40 people who participate from 11 communities. We're going to have a briefing in April. The state has a commission on micro-mobility, which is what a municipality is going to do with e-bikes, with scooters, with hovercraft, and all the other devices that people can jump on and move around. Are they on the road? Should they be in the sidewalk? Should they be in a bike lane? There is a state commission on micromobility. Beverly's chief of police is part of that commission. There's certain conclusions that have come out. There's a lot of recommendations that need to be vetted. We'll be going through that in April, and that will be part of our briefing in November. Matt, did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Spang and then Counselor Feldman, and then I do hate to pause at what I think is a really important conversation, but just knowing what we have ahead, but
We're not going anywhere.
I was just going to say, I trust that we'll be able to keep having this conversation. Counselor Spang.
Thank you. I don't have a question. I just wanted to echo my thanks for all the work that the committee's doing. This is a top issue that people contact us about, so really appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Feldman, we'll go over to you.
Yes, thank you. Again, also, thank you. I know our time is limited, so I am grateful, so grateful for the amount of work that I know you all are volunteers, and the effort and the professionalism of it is fantastic. So I had two kind of probably way above your pay grade as volunteers, but I know there are two items that are kind of evolving that I was wondering if your committee had looked into or was going to include in part of your recommendations. One is that I know that recently there's been some legislation about bus stop cameras or school bus cameras and help using cameras to enforce some of the safety concerns around bus stops and at school bus crossings. And I was wondering if anybody had looked into any of that. That was
That has not.
No, we haven't.
Okay.
There was a very brief discussion with Sergeant Nicholson, but no, we really haven't done that, not as yet.
And we're getting set up to do the walk audits with the schools toward the end of the school year. And I'm not saying that it will come up then, but it gives us an opportunity to perhaps, have that conversation with the principals and the parents and even the students if they'd like to be involved.
It's I know it's very new. I'm
Sure.
just curious because
Sure.
so much of it's about enforcement and changing drivers' behavior because there's only so much we can do. I mean,
Right.
that in those situations. And then the other one was that, and this is as the parent of a middle schooler myself and a high schooler, e-bikes and our communities I know that I struggle with, that's another constituent concern, and, I'm just.
I've heard it from my neighbors as well, and I've experienced it myself, of course. I think it's part of it speaks to the recommendation number 2 with the enforcement and the public education. Not with the near miss, but potentially. I mean, a lot of those situations are near miss reporting. And there's also the opportunity with this micro mobility.
If you go through the recommendations, if you go through the conclusions of the micromobility task force to date from the state, you can oversimplify it really clearly. The differentiating factors are going to be speed. How fast does an e-bike go? How fast does a scooter go? And therefore, where do they belong? There's a second aspect around enforcement. And municipalities have been reluctant to drive enforcement for violations with e-bikes and scooters, especially with kids, right?
Yeah, and I
And
think,
there's a major problem going on, because you have kids on e-bikes going over 20 miles an hour, 20 to 30 miles an hour without helmets. It's an accident waiting to happen. So there's an educational component here as well.
there also, as far as I understand it, there isn't a true mechanism to enforce that yet. And I think there's a little bit of a hesitancy to, you know, do something when there's no law yet that addresses it. And I think that's part of this micromobility, and it kind of ties into, you know, what we're doing on the committee and what recommendations we may or may not bring forward, you know, based on the conversations that we have, the data that we collect, and any future data that we kind of try to make better, so that we can make better decisions that make sense for our community. So,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
course.
Counselor. Counselor Spang, I'm wondering, in light of the conversation that I think is unfolding, maybe we could confer about having a public services meeting where we could invite the committee in and have a broader conversation, if that would be agreeable to you. So thank you to the members of the committee. Just in consulting with Counselor Spang, who's chair of the Public Services Committee, we'd love to maybe have a subcommittee meeting where we could have a fuller conversation with you all if you're open to that. But we do appreciate all of the work that you do and appreciate this presentation as well. Thank you. Can you come to the microphone?
When we designed the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, we have a built-in connection of traffic, et cetera. Jonathan Salt sits in both. There's a
Thank you.
major linkage.
Thank you, and thank you very much, Mr. Selt, for your work, your dual work on both. We appreciate having all of you here with us. I want to take a moment and just to thank the mayor for being here with us. Mr. Mayor, thank you. We're going to be going to your presentation momentarily. What I would like to do, if it's okay with you, is open the 7:30 hearing, recess it, motion to recess it, and then we'll go right to you. I will also, at this moment, before I do that, having thanked the mayor for being here, will also mention that our District B and School Committee President, Lauren Visnick, is here with us. Thank you very much, Mrs. Visnick, President Visnick, for being here in your familiar seat. And also our City Council Budget Analyst, Mr. Jerry Perry, is here with us. Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. So as I mentioned, we do have a 7:30 posted hearing. I'm going to open that now, but councilors, I'll entertain a motion to recess it, which means we'll just take it a bit later in the agenda so that we can hear the trash and recycling update that the mayor has for us as well. So Ms. Kent, let's open that public hearing posted for 7:30 on order number 84.
Hold on, sorry, wrong paper. Order number 84, City of Beverly, ordered that the City Council of the City of Beverly hold a public hearing on Monday, March 16, 2026 at 7:30 PM at 191 Cabot Street, third floor, council chambers relative to National Grid Petition 301247668 to install underground facilities on Dodge Street. And this was in the newspaper on February 27th.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kent. Councilors, I would entertain a motion to recess that hearing to 8:05. All those in favor? That carries 9-0, so we'll pick that back up at 8:05. And anyone here wishing to speak in the public hearing, either on Dodge Street or the posted 7:45 public hearing, can sign up on the sign-up sheets that are on the table to my right, on the table under the window. You can do that at any point. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. Invite you to the podium, and thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to hearing the update that you have for us.
Oh, I'm not sure how interesting it'll be, but thank you, Madam President. It's good to see everybody. Well, as you well know, our trash and recycling contract ends June 30th. And as you also know, we've been working on it for the last several months. Just a few thoughts. Early on, we identified key components of the program. I mean, none of this is really unknown to you. The collection and the disposal of recycling, trash, and composting, with a goal, one of our goals being to reduce trash tonnage further, meeting, kind of aligning with the state's needs and goals around waste generally. We've met with many trash, recycling, yard waste, and food waste haulers, purveyors of or end sites for any and all of the above. We have been working with the state's Department of Environmental Protection, receiving technical assistance from them for many months with this process. We wrote and then we published a type of an RFP. It's called an RFEI or an RFI, Request for Expressions of Interest, and had talked this through with all the various haulers that we met with. So we hope and maybe expect that we're going to hear responses from all of them, but responses with proposals for the services that we know we need. We do expect some degree of automation in our next contract, from some to all and in different senses. We know, for example, that we'll need some rear loading service for bulk item pickup. We know that we have some tricky, tight neighborhoods that may need rear pickup, while other neighborhoods may get a fully automated version. And that's not unusual in a lot of our older New England communities. And so those will be things that we'll see in the responses to the RFEI in terms of what these haulers think about the need, where, and to what extent. We will know much more in the coming weeks, and we're planning a variety of ways of community outreach to help residents plan for the new contract, which, as I said, will start July 1st. We've been working with our own Waste Reduction Committee all along, and we're going to be asking for their help and for your help with the different community outreach tools that we want to use, as well as engaging with a number of various interested community groups in doing that. The last thing I'll say is, when I asked the council president to give me a few minutes, I thought that the RFEIs would have been opened because the initial date we put on them was March 13th. We did receive numerous requests for a little additional time, so they won't be due until later this week. So there'll be I guess I'll ask to come back in front of you at another meeting in April, likely to share more information. I don't know if you have any questions in the meantime.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Councilors, are there any questions for the mayor on this update that we heard on the process at this point? Anything that folks are wondering? Councilor St. Hilaire.
So, Mr. Mayor, I guess when would we expect to hear on the status?
I mean, our plan is to spend a good chunk of time later this week in taking an initial look and review of what comes in. I will say that since trash and recycling or waste hauling services are exempt from state procurement law, we're not bound to select, a so-called winner of the RFEI process. Rather, receiving that information is going to help inform how we try to negotiate the best deal we can for the community. So it'll be some period longer, but I would say in the next handful of weeks we're going to need to make some significant decisions. Since I said that we're going to have some degree of automation, what I meant to say following that was that will lead to the need to order and utilize carts that can be lifted and tipped by the machinery on the truck. So we're going to need to know what our orders need to be there in time to have them ordered, have them arrive, and get them out to people. So I think all told, this set of decisions is going to happen over the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Councilor. Are there other questions from members of the council at this point? May I ask you a question, Mr. Mayor?
Of course, you're the president.
Thank you. It may be too soon to say, since you're sort of looking at this holistically and there may be other changes, but at this point, do you and your team have any thoughts about whether it's likely that curbside composting will continue as it has been, with households sort of enrolling as they choose working with Black Earth, or do you have thoughts about if that too may shift in any way?
We've had in-depth conversations with every hauler we've met with about composting, and I would say at a minimum, we're going to be trying to kind of redouble efforts to get people to kind of know about, understand about the current opportunity with Black Earth. We will see whether there's something available more broadly than that. I guess we'll have to see. We're waiting to hear from the various haulers. I don't want to say too much about what they may or may not respond with.
Of course, yeah. Thank you, I appreciate that.
Of course. It is a high priority of ours, and we raised it in that way with everyone who we've met with. Of
Thank you, I appreciate that.
course, thanks.
Any other questions from members of the council for the mayor? All right, well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for being here, and we'll look forward to the next phase of that update in the next few weeks. We do have some time before our now posted for 7:45 public hearing. And so we do have, as I mentioned, one member of the public who has signed up to speak. And just as a reminder, for those who are following along, these particular public comment spots are available at all of our regular meetings. There are up to 5 for 3 minutes per speaker. And they can be signed up for by contacting the city clerk no later than 9:30 the morning of the meeting. And they are first come, first serve. And so we do have one member of the public signed up. Aya Siddiqui, I'd invite you to come to the podium. Vice President St. Hilaire, if you wouldn't mind keeping time for us. And I know that you absolutely are a professional at this, but if you hear the timer, if you just draw your remarks to a close, and thank you for your patience too in waiting.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Aisha Siddiqui. I live in Ward 3. My address is on file. I start with a land acknowledgement. This meeting takes place on the unceded ancestral lands of the Namkeg and Pawtucket bands of the Massachusetts tribe, from whom the Commonwealth of Massachusetts took its name. With deep respect and gratitude, we acknowledge the indigenous caretakers of these lands and waters who have lived here for thousands of years and who continue to live here in diverse indigenous communities today. I'm here tonight to invite the council to consider revising its rules and orders, see Appendix A, Condition 3A, around public comment and the requirement to state one's home address. The ACLU of Massachusetts wrote to municipalities in March 2024 and flagged this very issue. You have a copy in front of you of their 4-page letter, double-sided, and it also just hit all your inboxes. I will now read a couple excerpts from that letter. We believe that such policies, to the extent that they require participants to announce their specific address, including their street number, chill the exercise of free speech and free assembly rights guaranteed by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and Articles 16 and 19 of the Massachusetts Declaration of Rights. Such policies inhibit attendees from fully and freely expressing their thoughts on public affairs, particularly on hotly contested issues, out of fear of reprisal to their homes, to themselves, and to their families, should they express unfavorable or controversial views. These policies may also deter survivors of intimate partner violence and victims of stalking, among others, from speaking during public comment due to significant safety concerns associated with divulging their address. This chilling effect on protected speech is magnified when an attendee's home address is readily available online through posted meeting recordings and minutes. While courts in Massachusetts have yet to speak directly on this issue, the Supreme Judicial Court makes clear that unreasonable restrictions on protected speech are unconstitutional. Now back to me. I also want to highlight some other members of our community who may feel hesitant to disclose their address, such as immigrants who are already living in fear of ICE, and BIPOC residents in our predominantly white city. These are our neighbors. They have just as much right to speak here at this podium as anyone else. But this policy tells them that their safety, my safety, is the price of participation. The good news is, there is an easy fix. The council can simply allow speakers to state their ward number. It satisfies any legitimate interest in knowing who's speaking without endangering the people actually doing the speaking. I urge you.
Oh, thank you. If you want to draw your sentence.
It's just one sentence. I urge you to make this change, protect the speech rights of every resident in this community, including the ones who are most vulnerable.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Siddiqui, and thank you, Vice President St. Hilaire. I apologize, I didn't hear that this time. Thank you. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Ms. Siddiqui, for being here with us. And again, thank you for your flexibility as you're waiting to speak. Thank you, Vice President St. Hilaire. I apologize. I wasn't picking up on that. So that brings us, not quite to our time for our public hearing. I do want to just take a moment and acknowledge a few other folks who have joined us in the meeting. First of all, I am remiss for not having also recognized that former City Councilor Joyce McMahon is here with us this evening. Nice to see you, former Councilor McMahon. Thanks for being here. Also, our City Finance Director, Brian Ailes, is here with us. Thank you very much, Mr. Ailes. And our Commissioner of Public Services, Mike Collins, is here as well. Thank you for being here, Commissioner. If there are folks who are waiting to speak in one of the two public hearings, I'll just mention again, if anyone has joined us, if you can sign up for those on the sheets that are on the table to my right, underneath the window, by the other entrance to the chamber, and you can do so at any point during the meeting before we take public comment in those public hearings. We will take public comment in the order that folks are signed up. Let's take care of a bit of business before we get to that 7:45 start time, Ms. Kent. Let's go to acceptance of minutes of previous meetings. We have two sets of meeting minutes that we can accept this evening, councilors. The first is from our Public Services Committee of the Whole meeting from February 2nd, 2026, and the second from our regular City Council meeting, February 2nd, 2026. Is there a motion to approve those two sets of minutes? All those in favor? That carries 9-0, and those two sets of minutes are approved. Thank you. Ms. Kent, let's go to communications from His Honor the Mayor, please.
Order number 94, reappointments for Jay Muse, Diantha Petition, Jason Consalvo, Donna Musmecki, Thomas Holland, Christopher Wren, Nathan Seavey, Zach Servito, Dan Allen, and Kevin Grant to the Economic and Community Development Council.
Please refer that to the Committee on Public Services.
Order number 95, a reappointment for Timothy Creamer, 36 Appleton Ave, to serve as constable.
Please refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs.
Order number 96, an appointment for Christopher Tattel, 91 Rare Hale Street, to serve on the Economic and Community Development Council.
Please refer that to the Committee on Public Services.
Order number 97, a request approval for the Beverly Golf and Tennis Club 2026 member rate schedule.
Please refer that to the Committee on Public Services as well.
Order number 98, a grant for $8,500, grant from the Department of Fish and Game Division of Marine Fisheries Clean Vessel Act Grant Program to support free seasonal pump-out boat service.
Please refer that to the Committee on Finance and Property. Let's go to communications from other city officers and boards, please, Ms. Kent.
Order number 99 from the city clerk, a 2026 renewal for flammable registrations.
Please refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs.
Order number 100 from the city clerk, a new secondhand junk dealer license for Kuresh Rad Jewelers Corp., 100 Cummings Center.
Please refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs.
Order number 58A from the Assistant City Solicitor Dole, proposed amendments to Chapter 117 Animals to add a new Chapter V titled, Chapter 5, titled Feeding of Wild Animals and PR Wildlife.
Please refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs as well. I would entertain a motion to take just a 2-minute recess to get set up for this public hearing. So moved. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. We'll be back in 2 minutes to open that hearing. Kim, are you all set? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll call the council back to order, and we're ready to roll with this public hearing that's posted for 7:45. This is on Order 88. Ms. Kent.
Order number 88, City of Beverly ordered that the City Council of the City of Beverly hold a public hearing on Monday, March 16, 2026 at 7:45 PM at 191 Cabot Street, 3rd floor, Council Chambers, relative to a request approval to transfer $241,250 from the reserve for union negotiations to fund retroactive costs back to July 1st, 2024. And this was in the newspaper on March 6th.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kent. And again, I'll just mention that members of the public who wish to speak in this public hearing can sign up on the sign-up sheets over on the table under the window, and we'll take those public speakers in the order that they're signed up. And also, for anyone who joined us after we recessed the first posted hearing, if we come to 8:05 in this hearing, we'll just need to pause this hearing, reopen that one, and then take care of next steps with that one. So Commissioner Collins, I see you're at the podium and ready to get started, so we'll turn things over to you.
I'll try to speak quickly. Maybe we can be done by then.
Hope springs eternal.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me here tonight. It's an important issue to the Public Works Department and the city in general. No secret over the last several years, particularly since the pandemic, when apparently half the population of the planet disappeared, especially the people who do the work, it's become very difficult to hire and retain employees in the Public Works Department, as it has in many fields across all industries. And we tried to take some steps a few years ago to see where we stood in the marketplace. A similar study was done for the City Hall employees, the City Hall union, 4 or 5 years ago, and some wage adjustments were made as a result of that study, finding that some employees within City Hall union were underpaid. Some were paid right on par with where the marketplace was. And the union had asked the mayor roughly just over 2 years ago to undertake a similar study for the Public Works employees. And the mayor had agreed to do said study, and after a few rounds of RFPs, we selected a consultant to help us with that study. Sorry, maybe I'm not close enough. Just roll up. Yeah. Get away. There we go. So, we had engaged a consultant to help us survey the marketplace, try to develop, let me back up a step. There's a singular opportunity for us to try to correct some oddities in our pay scales within the Public Works Department, some inconsistencies with job descriptions. Things hadn't been touched in 50, 60 years in most cases. Titles and job descriptions were using outdated language, not consistent with current protocols, and none of the job descriptions were consistent with each other. So we took the opportunity with our consultant, HRS, to, as it says there, we looked to compare our wage rates to comparable communities just to see where we stood in the marketplace. We then looked at the job of each individual here, because I think we're all very proud of the fact that the Public Works employees in Beverly are not really like most Public Works employees. They have usually come with a much deeper skill set, with licenses and qualifications that you don't typically see in other communities. So it's a little bit difficult to compare these employees to other communities. Not saying we're better, it's just different. We approach it from a much more of a business-like standpoint. If you look at our employees, they look like contractors, they use the same equipment as contractors, and they behave like contractors, because effectively they are the contractors for the community. We were looking to find pay problems and try to figure out if anyone was in fact underpaid compared to the marketplace. And we began this process after and independent of a collective bargaining process, because this is not something that was bargained with the union. This was something that was undertaken as a completely separate project and was offered to the union as essentially take it or leave it, and not in a rude way, just this is not a negotiation. This is what the marketplace demands. This is what we're seeing, and this is how we would like to approach making some changes. So first thing you have to do is compared to whom. And HRS identified these communities, and these are some of the same communities that were done for the City Hall study with some additional and some different communities, that these are communities that have similar demographics, similar size, similar complexities to Beverly. So you can see there, most of those you would agree, Salem's an easy one. We can easily compare ourselves to Salem, same rough population, same workforce, we're twice the land area, but, if you squint, pretty similar. And all the rest of those, you can see those are communities that feel like the right fit. We tried to stay away from communities. I know my employees always like to compare us to Revere, because Revere's pay scale is very high, but you also have to live in Revere, and you can't live anywhere else. So it can be very expensive and difficult to live in Revere, so we can't really compare ourselves to Revere. So these are more fair comparisons. The job descriptions were created through first interviewing the employees, what do you think you do, compared to what is your job title? Because very often, we are taking a square peg into a round hole with our employees and just saying, hey, well, we have these job descriptions, we have these job titles, we have this pay scale. So we're trying to peel back the onion and see what the employees actually do in their relative jobs, and then write the job descriptions, not to what they say they do, but to more appropriately what they actually do in the day-to-day. We ended up revamping all of the job descriptions, and the important thing that came out of that is there is consistency from one job description to the next. They are all the same exact format. They all have, you can see the hierarchy from one to the next, the granularity between them, and they are compliant with things like the ADA requirements now. And so a lot of work went into revising those job descriptions and making them all-encompassing without making them overly complicated. We'll admit that the first version of them was a bit long, and we realized that these don't need to be that complicated. So we made an effort to try to shorten them quite a bit. And that was the basis for which the study then started to look at the different categories. They assigned different categories to the analysis to look at all of these different things here. What's the physical environment? Is it an office job or is it an outdoor? Are they working in extreme temperatures? Pretty much across the board, yes. Does the job require state certification, like in the drinking water fields? Or are there voluntary certifications that employees would have? We put a lot of effort and emphasis on training for our employees, and we encourage them to go out and get licenses and better themselves. And that is one of the reasons we are in the logjam that we are, where almost everybody had a very similar job because they had all bettered themselves and got licenses and moved into very similar positions, but there was no way to differentiate between them. So now we looked at those job descriptions, then took all of these factors, and HRS had assigned values to each one of these factors, which then, sorry, very sensitive, then created a scoring system which each job was scored, and then that fit them onto a pay scale. And the pay scale that our consultant came up with had 10 different grades. So each job would fit into one of the 10 different grades. One of the things we recognized early on was that the 10 different grades didn't allow for granularity. We saw that same bunching of job descriptions all on the same grade. And one of the common themes we had heard over the years is different employees, employee X has to work outside in the cold more than employee Y. Why are they getting the same pay grade? All we did is we took 10 and made it 20, and we made the difference between them half as much. So it's the same top and bottom, but we just added, again, we added that additional scale there to differentiate between different job descriptions. And, I'm sorry. The pay scale itself we have 2 bargaining units that are covered by this MOU, by this wage and classification study, the General Labor Services Group and the foreman. And in the general labor force, there was 7 steps in the pay scale. Now there'll be 10 steps with a uniform step between each one. And the foreman's group went from 4 to 10 steps. That was just an artifact of the last negotiations, that there's one was 7 and one is 4. But now, again, there's some uniformity between the 2 bargaining units. Then we have to take all of this stuff and we have to place them somewhere on the pay scale. And this is no fun at all. This is difficult to envision what we're doing here. We started this conversation back in February 2024, and we agreed that the starting point for whatever change we made would be July 1st of 2024. And here we are, close to 2 years later. It took all of this time to get that done. Our consultant they turned out to be a very small family-run business and ran into some significant health issues along the way. And so there's a lot of reasons why this took much longer than it should have. But the effective date of this agreement was agreed to be July 1st, 2024. Any change we made would be made going forward. And one of the reasons we were able to keep the union from standing in front of my door every single day was that, look, whatever happens, it's going to happen as if it happened on July 1st, 2024. So the agreement would be retroactive back to that date. The mayor and the finance director and the city council had appropriated money last year, knowing that we were getting close to the end, and that's why we're here today, is to transfer that funds to, because we are finally at that point. Placing the employees on the pay scale is this mad science of we take where they end up, at what grade they're in. If they haven't been here for very many years, they're at step 1, and then you can see it follows on from there. If somebody's been here up to 20 plus years, there'll be 3 steps above where they would inherently be placed on the pay scale. That'll make a little bit more sense in a minute. The step increases across those steps would take place every 2 years from this point going forward. I don't know if you want to get into the weeds of how it goes from there, but we can come back to it if it's. We'll come back to it. Because this is an example of what it really means, and there's no other way to do this than to actually go through the whole thing and say, we're looking at fictitious employee John Doe, and in FY 2025, which is July 1st, 2024, they got a rate of 2957. John Doe's new grade is grade 6, and John Doe has 10 years of service. So it would first be placed on a step 4, but because that employee has 10 years of service, they would earn 2 additional steps, which would slide them up to a step 6. And that's how each person was placed onto the pay scale. The initial step was, if you see their rate of pay was $29.57 without this adjustment. The first step that they could fit on is step 4 because we didn't want anyone to go backwards as a result of this. So the first step they fit on that is greater than that is that step 4. That's why, hence that step 4. The overall goal when comparing to other communities, we should step back just a minute, was not to be the highest paid amongst our peers, but to be at 70% of the market. So that means there's 30% of those communities are paying more than we're paying for any given job title. It was difficult to find parity with some of the titles. Not every one of them exists in all communities. So some communities we had 7 or 8 different communities that we could compare to, and others we only had 1 or 2 because the jobs are not uniform across all communities, as you can imagine. So that's a reasonably straightforward example. There are people who are complicated in this process because in the last 2 years they changed roles, so they got a different rate of pay, so they've got 2 steps they've made and sometimes worse. So yay, This is what the overall table looks like. And you can see we've got grades 1 through 20. Again, there was, the consultant recommended 10. We just took that same scale and we pushed it out to 20. We cut them in half and added more steps so we can get the jobs to fall into individual categories, so they're not all bunched up as a grade 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever it is. And 10 steps there are some people who are placed, people who have been here for a very long time, 30-plus years, they're placed way over to the right. And newer employees are all step 1, 2, 3, that type of thing. This is, I'm sorry, that was FY 2025, July 1st, 2024. That's the same table for 26. And starting July 1st will be this table here. This includes the 3% COLA that was already negotiated in the last bargaining agreement. You should have all this stuff in your packets anyway, but this is an example of how job titles changed, and sometimes they didn't. We tried to modernize things, professionalize things a little bit more, and give you an idea of the way our contract works is quite odd. Prior to this current contract we're working in, it says by contract, of the 4 steps, you start at step 3, and in 6 months, you go to step 4. So within 6 months of starting here, you're at your maximum step forever. And some people never leave that position, so that's it. There's no room to growth, no room for growth in their job, and no room for professional advancement. So this process will obviously give them a lot more room for growth. But just some examples, we had junior custodians and senior custodians, so they became a custodian, a lead custodian. HMEO, heavy motor equipment operator, that's your typical backhoe loader operator. Those are sprinkled through all of the divisions, but they all had slightly different roles and responsibilities. So we might have grounds technician 1, infrastructure technician, water maintenance technician, that type of thing. Moving up the scale to the jobs that start to require licenses or additional licenses or experience. Landscape maintenance and construction person becomes a grounds technician 2, as opposed to a grounds technician 1. They have more licenses, they have more experience. And the infrastructure and maintenance technicians move up as well. And as we move up a little bit higher, again, additional licenses, additional skills. If arborist stays an arborist, carpenter becomes a maintenance craftsman 3, and pump station operators and pump station technician. You can kind of get the theme of how things have progressed. Oops.
Commissioner, I'm just going to ask you to pause for just a moment, and I'm just going to reopen the recessed public hearing, and then we'll come right back to you,
Absolutely.
if that's okay. Thank you. So, councilors, I'm going to just pause this public hearing that we're in the midst of. This is on Order 88. We'll reopen that public hearing on Order 84, posted originally for 7:30, recessed to 8:05. I would entertain a motion to recess that to 8:20. All those in favor? That carries 9-0, so we'll pick that back up at 8:20. Commissioner, thank you. I apologize for that interruption.
Not at all. This is just a continuation of the proposed and current and proposed titles and grades. Again, it's an effort to modernize the job titles and try to differentiate what people actually do from where we had stuck them before. Most people were within, half a dozen job titles total across the entire department. Now most people have a distinct job title because their jobs are decidedly different. So that brings us all the way up to the foreman's group, which is now becomes superintendents, because they are professionals that run broad departments with a number of licensed skills and abilities that go along with it. And we had asked the union to endorse this process, so we didn't feel like we could go forward. We basically, again, it wasn't a negotiation. We said, you can take this or you can leave it. And with all due respect, we would urge you to take this, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to get our job titles, our job descriptions, and our pay scale aligned with the current marketplace. And the union voted unanimously to accept the proposed changes. And that brings us to here, where we are asking the council to transfer the money that was already appropriated so we can cover the expense of the retro pay, and that will bring us up to today and fund through the end of the fiscal year. The $241,000 doesn't cover the entire cost of the study, but we've identified within the line items of the public services budget where the rest of the money is going to come from, so we're able to internally fund the rest of it. And happy to entertain any questions. I'm sure you have some.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I just wanted to mention that the sign-up sheet for this public hearing is now just in front of the clerk. Members of the public can still sign up to speak if you wish. We will go to public comment if there are members of the public in a little bit. Members of the council, are there any questions for Commissioner Collins at this point? Knowing that we'll also have a chance to hear from Mr. Perry. Mr. Ailes, did you have anything to add to this at this point?
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. We'll just pause for questions if there are any specific for Commissioner Collins on what we just heard, and then Mr. Perry, I'd like to invite you to come up and we'll continue that conversation. Any questions at this point? Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. We'll pause on that. Mr. Perry, could I invite you up to the podium? And as you're coming up, Mr. Perry, I wanted to also mention, I completely missed introducing and thanking also Tracy Reardon, who's also here from DPS. Thank you very much, Ms. Reardon, for being here. I apologize for missing you over there on the side bench, and thank you for being here. Mr. Perry.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the council. It was a pleasure to be here. As you know, as we all know, this is a project that's been going on some time, consistent with what Commissioner Collins just indicated. I've been aware of this, and he is correct that we did appropriate money for FY '26 for this thing. In the last week and a half or so, began trying to track down information on this. This morning, I had a very productive meeting with the commissioner on the phone regarding the request of the mayor. And then at 11 o'clock, and I was going to give a shout out to Tracy too, thank you. But we had a very good meeting. Mr. Ailes, Eric Barber, and Tracy and I sat down for over an hour just in the conference room over here. I had a boatload of questions to ask. I got some of that answered. And though I was unable to get to my laptop today, I believe some reports have been sent to me this afternoon. Thank you, Tracy, I appreciate that. So at this stage, Madam President, I need to do some more research here. I'm not ready to render an opinion to you whether I think this is a good idea or a bad idea. I need to do some homework. I'm glad the mayor is here. I'm hoping the mayor will grant permission. Some of my questions is with the solicitor's office, if I may, Your Honor. So I need to sit with them on some questions on collective bargaining. But at this stage of the game, I am not prepared to render an opinion to you whether you should or should not do it. It was my recommendation, Madam President, that you take this request, refer it to committee, and hold it in committee while I do my homework on this stuff, and I will try to get back to you as soon as practical and in terms of the information and the questions I have. Again, Tracy has been assigned to me, I guess, so she's been good enough. She'll be able to take a lot of my questions, and I'll do the best I can. But the bottom line to it, two things. The concept of reclassifying positions, that's a good idea. That's good public administration. I've got no problem with that at all. I'll be fascinated to read this myself and then ask my questions. That part is good. I found out a lot about the financial components. I still got more digging to do of how to pay for this, not only with the appropriation, but as Mr. Collins indicated, some FY '26 numbers. So I got to look into that and then some collective bargaining questions I have as well. That said, Madam President, I'm more than happy to answer any questions your colleagues have, but tonight it is my recommendation you refer it to committee, hold it there, let me do my homework, and I'll get back to the council with my thoughts and advice.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Councilors, as you know, it would be routine for us to be able to, when the public hearing closes, we would refer this to subcommittee at any rate, and so then we can have some further conversation. But are there any questions or comments at this point within the, Councilor Feldman, and then we'll go to Councilor St. Hilaire.
I do have one question, and that was if you could refresh my memory on how much was appropriated previously for this.
Thank you, Counselor. Mr. Perry, thank you.
Sure. As I understand it, the appropriation, it's line item 11324/57810. We appropriated $241,250 for this, and it's my understanding we need additional funding. As the Commissioner indicated, he will have that in the line item. It's my hope in the next couple of days, working with Tracy. I'm going to identify what those line items are with her and then report to you accordingly.
So the request is for the exact amount that we had previously appropriated?
Correct.
As it currently stands?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Counselor. And apologies, this end of the table, my pen just broke and flew into the air. I don't know why. Counselor St. Hilaire will go over to you, and then Counselor Houseman.
Thank you, Madam President. Just wanted to agree with Mr. Perry and applaud the administration and Commissioner Collins for taking this initiative on. I think career growth and providing an opportunity for that sort of growth is key to our retention strategy, so appreciate that. I know it's a lot of work. I do have some questions on the financial piece, and maybe just to start, the letter we got, Mr. Mayor, you talked about with the approval of this order, we will realign our FY26 budget to properly account for these modifications. Could you elaborate on that? What does that mean?
Mr. Ailes, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, so technical answer in nature is that there's a couple components to this cost, depending upon when in the point in time we implement it. In this case, because we will be implementing as if we did it on July 1st, 2024, there are retro payments that have already been calculated that comprise a portion of that requested amount. That's effectively the costs that occurred in FY25. We're in FY26, so the remainder of that request, along with some reallocation of some DPS line items, will account for the additional cost for FY26, which is from this point through June 30th, as well as from this point back to July 1 of 2025.
How do we pay FY25 bills? How does that work?
It's retroactivity. It's allowed. Yeah, it's not that they're bills, it's just adjusting compensation.
What is it applied to? FY26 or FY25?
It's an expense in FY26 from an accounting perspective. It would be income for those employees in FY26 in the calendar year, even though it technically relates to a previous point in time.
I have further questions, Madam President. Is that all right? So I guess that leads to my other question is what is the impact on not just this budget, but FY27 budget and beyond?
Yeah, fair question. There are three funds we're really talking about here. We're talking about the general fund, and as you all know, these employees also do work for water and sewer. So some of these costs will be absorbed within those enterprise funds as well. But the general fund component is the request that's before you this evening. That's the one where we reserved the collective bargaining reserve. It's also the largest component. The overall cost in the general fund is estimated at $368,000. However, keep in mind that that covers 2 years' worth of costs, right? So logic would allow for half of that in a given fiscal year of about 50, 160, 171, about $185,000 on an annualized adjusted basis. So that amount of 185 has also been built and pre-programmed into all of our forecasting models that we've been talking about for months, as well as we're building the budget now, we've held a placeholder for those expected costs because we have been working on this for multiple years and have known these costs are coming.
That was incorporated in the projected deficit already.
Yeah.
It's not new,
well,
it's not new to that.
The projected shortfall between revenues and expenses that we're looking at, yeah, that we're beginning to close as we sit here.
Is it a 3.9 million number?
It's shifting. It's come down.
What is it now?
It changes every minute practically. I mean, as you know, the budget process is an evolution of information, right? When we built the forecast, we use very broad assumptions. As we get closer to delivering the budget, those assumptions become more real. We still have some major components that we're still waiting on. Mayor talked about one this morning, earlier today, about the trash. That's a big one. We've also got to refine some healthcare figures. We're revising our new growth figures. There's a lot of components that go into building a budget, so it's really tough for me to put a pin right on it right now to say what that potential shortfall is. But rest assured, we're required by charter to deliver a balanced budget, and we intend to do that. So the budget will be balanced when we deliver it to you.
Thank you, Councillor St. Hilaire. Councillor Husband, before we go to you, it is coming up to the time that we had recessed our other public hearing. Ms. Kemp, were there members of the public signed up for the other public hearing? Could I just check, are there members of the public here hoping to speak in the public hearing on the Dodge Street conduits? This is a National Grid hearing. Okay, I just didn't want to keep you all waiting longer if there were folks waiting. Neither public hearing at this point has members of the public signed up, so I think what I'd like to do is entertain another motion to recess that other public hearing, see if we can work our way through this conversation, and then we'll take that one. So I will reopen the public hearing on order number 84 and entertain a motion to recess that hearing to 8:30. All those in favor? Thank you. So we'll pick back up with 84, or the order 84 public hearing at 8:30, and we'll return to this public hearing on order number 88. Thank you, Mr. Ailes. I apologize for that pause. Councillor Houseman and then Councillor Milady, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Perry, this involves, this proposal and this order for transferring funds involves management, legal, and financial aspects to it. And so I'm pleased that you're going to take the time you find necessary to go through all of those components and provide the council with your analysis of this proposal and also the broader context of how it fits into the FY27 budget. So I really don't have a question. I just want to say I am glad that you're going to go through the process and provide, as you usually do, your analysis and recommendation to the council about how we might consider it. It's, I think, I mean, I agree with the comments about how, from a management point of view, it seems like a very good thing to do. But having said that, it has a number of different implications, and it's important for the council to understand all of those implications and the specific numbers and how they plug into the broader context of the budget, as well as the operation of DPS going forward before we take a vote on this. So that's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
That was easy.
Yeah.
If I may, Madam President, just a quick comment coming back to Council St. Hilaire. Council, I agree with Mr. Ailes on that. The notion of going back, it is prior fiscal year things, but that's legal, it's appropriate, it meets standard municipal financial laws and everything like that. That's totally appropriate if you should decide to vote on it.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Thank you, Councillor Houseman. Councillor Milady.
I have two questions for Commissioner Collins.
Thank you, Commissioner. Councillor.
Thank you very much. So Commissioner Collins, can you give us an idea of where, or a rough number of your employees who would be in that 0 to 4 years category, and then what number would be in the 20+ years category?
How many fall into each group?
Roughly, yeah.
Most people are more than 4 years. We have a number of, it's been an interesting last 5 or so years since COVID. It's been very, very difficult to hire. Something happened last January 20th-ish, and hiring became a lot easier because a lot of people lost their jobs. I don't know what happened, you decide. So the market has changed, and we've had more applicants, and so we've been able to fill a number of positions that have been long unfilled. So there are, I don't know, Trace, would you guess maybe less than a quarter are in that 0 to 4? And yeah, about 10 out of, well, 10 out of, we'll say 40 are over 20 years, and
Well, I just want to piggyback off what my colleague said. I think it's very commendable to work on retention and recognizing that we've had employees for our city
Chase, you want to kill the...
giving
just pull
decades
the-
of their service. This is a good reward system for them, as well as recruiting new people. My other question is, do you have and this is a harder one, but do you have an idea of what the union's reaction might be if we're unable to vote on this? Were they expecting a vote this evening necessarily?
I think they're really hoping for a vote. It's been a very long process. They've been very patient with us because it has been a painful process. You know, Tracy and my staff and Eric Barber have put hundreds of hours into making sure this comes out in a professional manner and reflects the good work that's gone into it. I know, like, Mr. Sanfilippo is the president of the local, and I don't know if, you know, I don't know how disappointed, but yes, they are expecting a vote tonight. They were hoping for a vote tonight to move forward, so we can put this chapter behind us. It's been a very long road, but not having this will be not being successful in implementing this study will be very difficult for us if that's what it came to. If that was the option, there are a number of employees who I think are deciding their future based on this, whether they stay with us or they go elsewhere. And it has been very difficult to hire. And I know there's a number of employees, at least, you know, I would say half a dozen, who are sort of got one foot on the threshold as a result, because there are other opportunities out there. And we strive to hire really skilled employees, and I think we have done so. I'd hate to lose them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other questions from the council at this point? Okay. Are there any members of the public here who hope to speak in this public hearing? Okay. Oh. Mr. Mayor?
Madam President, I guess I'd like to say two things. One is to thank everybody who was a part of a very challenging process. And so you heard from Commissioner Collins and Mr. Ailes and Tracy Reardon, business manager at DPS. We both Solicitor Olmixon and Assistant Solicitor Dole and retired Solicitor Williams, HR Director Teixeira. Help me out, I don't want to miss anybody. Oh, sorry, and Assistant DPS Commissioner Eric Barber. The consultants, we worked hard with them. They worked hard with us. There was unfortunately, there was a series of health issues for one of the principals at the consulting agency, and that knocked everything sideways for several months at one point. You heard and saw a lot of the complexities involved in trying to do this successfully, and so it took its time, you know. And to Commissioner Collins' point when trying to answer your question, Councilmember Lady, you know, we are only getting you this tonight, right? And, you know, you folks will do as you will, but, you know, I will make a point of talking with Mr. Sanfilippo's here representing the DPS union, and they've been great in this, and they know, and we made the commitment, you know, right at the outset that there would be a retro check to July 1, 2024, that the process was going to take longer than anybody wanted, even before we saw some of the challenges time-wise. And so they've been patient, and, you know, you folks have to do your own due diligence. So if that means that, you know, this goes over to your next meeting, then, you know, we'll be talking to just try to shore up the team there to know that, you know, that at your next posted meeting, you know, we'd expect and hope that there will be will be action. So I just, you know, I wanted to say that. I mean, this is a process, and yours, you know, I don't have to tell you how important it is, you know. So just want to make sure we say that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Lady.
Thank you, Madam President. This question could be for either Mr. DiFilippo, if you feel comfortable, or Mr. Collins.
for these members, do they have an idea where they would, what paycheck would they expect or hope they would see this increase in? Would that be?
Well, at this point, that'd be a Mr. Ailes question. When would it,
I just
when
wanted
would
to hear
it
from you.
land on the paycheck? You want, so Mr. Sanfilippo, sorry,
Sanfilippo, sorry.
make sure you get his name. You coming up, Joe? You want to talk? Okay, sure, thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you, Mr. Sanfilippo.
Thank you. My name is Joe Sanfilippo. I'm the union president for both the foremen's and the labor units. Ultimately, as soon as possible is the answer, but, I mean, it's been a 2-year process, and some of the guys have been very patient. You know, what's another week at this point? But obviously, they'd like to see it as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ailes, did you have anything that you wanted to also be able to add?
On just the technical end of things, after conferring with Tracy, it does require a little bit of time to get the paperwork in. So we would expect, for example, if it were voted this evening, we would probably expect to have it in the payroll run that runs next week, so a week from this coming Friday. If it was the April 6th meeting, then it would probably be 2 Fridays after that. So it would be mid-April.
Thank you, Mr. Ailes. Did you have anything else, Counselor?
Just internal guilt.
Okay. Thank you. So, sorry. So were there any members of the public who also wish to speak in this public hearing at this point? Okay. Seeing none, I will close this public hearing and I'll refer that back to the Committee on Finance and Property. With thanks to everybody who was here, who participated in the hearing, added to the conversation, answered questions. Thank you for being here with us. That does bring us to 8:30, and we had recessed our prior public hearing to this time. So we will pick up now and reopen the public hearing posted on order number 84. This is on National Grid Petition 312-47668 regarding underground electric conduits on Dodge Street. Ms. Kent has previously read this order in this meeting. Our National Grid rep is here, and I'll invite you to the podium with thanks for your patience and your flexibility. I know you've been with us all evening. Thank you. And I'll invite you to begin anything that you have to say about this petition.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Kazadi, and I'm representing National Grid at 44 River Street in Beverly. And for this job, we're petitioning to install about 5 feet of a 3-inch conduit from an existing pole on Dodge Street to the property of 300 Dodge Street.
Thank you, Mr. Kazadi. Are there any questions, Councilor Rotundo?
What exactly is is there a house at 300 Dodge Street? I know it's the farm area, so that's why I'm kind of curious. Is it in preparation of possibly trying to do development in the future?
So the new service is they want to get an automatic gate opener, I guess. It's for the gate that they install, yep.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor. Are there other questions or comments on this one? Councilor Spang.
Thank you very much. I know it looks like a short amount of work. Do you have an estimate on how long it would take to complete?
That should be pretty quick. It should be probably maybe half a day
Okay.
work, yeah.
Thanks. Thank you, Councilor. Are there other questions for Mr. Kazadi at this time? Okay. Were there members of the public who had wished to speak in this hearing at this point? Okay, seeing none, I'll close that public hearing, refer that back to the Committee on Public Services for further conversation this evening. Thank you again, Mr. Kazadi. That does bring us to the point in our meeting where we can take a break for some subcommittee work. And so I'd entertain a motion to enter into that subcommittee break now. All those in favor? That carries 9-0. Let's have Finance and Property here in Council Chambers, please. Legal Affairs in the committee room and Public Services in the hall. Thank you, everybody.
That, I don't need the gavel tonight, but thank you. I'd like to call to order the meeting of Finance and Property Subcommittee meeting. And we have 2 items on our agenda tonight. And one is the order number 98. I'm going to start with that because that is the Fish and Game. Yes. Or is that, sorry. Just
Yes,
don't have
it
the
is.
wording. So this is a $8,500 grant from the Department of Fish and Game to support free seasonal pump-out boat service. So I was wondering if there's anyone on the committee that has any questions or comments they'd like to make on this one. Councilor Flores?
Thank you.
Or President Flores?
I don't have any questions. I believe this is a grant that we've received in the past and somewhat regularly. So I just wanted to mention that it's great to see receipt of this grant again. And I certainly don't want to speak for our harbor master and his team, but just being able to have this pump out service and for good stewardship, for our boating community and for good stewardship of our harbor and our waterways. I'm pleased to see this grant again.
I agree. Yes. Councilor Houseman?
Yes, just as someone who uses the harbor, and I know that the pump-out service does make a difference in terms of people actually appropriately disposing of waste. So it's important, and I agree with Council President. I think this is an annual grant. It is an important one, and so I'm glad to see it, and I would make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
All those in favor? Aye. Great. Motion passes 3-0. And then the only other item we have on our agenda tonight is what the last public hearing we just had, which was the internal department transfer request of $241,250 from the reserve for union negotiations to fund retroactive costs back to July 1st, 2024. So, do my fellow counselors have any thoughts on this tonight?
I guess my comment is to sort of repeat what I said earlier. I mean, I think this is an important initiative. I'm glad it's happening, but I also think, we as a council have had, have a responsibility to understand, to do our due diligence. It's taken a while to get to us, and I think it's only fair for us to be able to, hear from Mr. Perry when he feels he has done the sufficient work in order to be able to give us an analysis of this. So I suspect at the end of the day, this is going to be a very good thing, but we need to know that, and we need to hear from Mr. Perry in that regard as far as I'm concerned.
President Flowers, do you have, yes?
Thank you. I don't necessarily disagree with Councilor Houseman at all. I just wanted to, because I didn't have a chance to speak as much in the public hearing, I just wanted to acknowledge that I also really appreciate that this work has been going on. I can appreciate, as Commissioner Collins, you talked about the difficulty of that process, even to be able to determine fairly and accurately what members of our DPS team, where their job descriptions fall, especially in light of the fact, as Commissioner Collins said, that for Beverly's Department of Public Services, many of our team are trained differently or more deeply than what might be parallel kind of comparisons in other communities. And so I think we're really the beneficiaries of that. I think we see the good work from Commissioner Collins and his team all of the time here, and I appreciate that. So I'm grateful that we're, as you said, Councilor Husband, that we're engaging in this process. I can appreciate that it's been a lengthy one and appreciate the patience of all of the members of the team and of the union. I agree, Councilor Husband, that part of that work that's been taking time has taken it time also to get to this point with us. And so having the time to make sure that we're making the best decision for everybody feels important. But I also do want to just note and recognize that we also heard tonight that as we have that information, for us then to make our decision expeditiously, I think is what's also very fair and just, because people, as we heard, have been working through this process and members of the team have been waiting.
Councilor Husband?
Yes, I mean, I know from speaking with the the highway crew and the water and sewer division have been working on East Lothrop Street. I've certainly heard about this study and the long wait for it, so I'm very empathetic to their need to have some resolution. And I also am empathetic to the challenges Commissioner Collins has had in terms of hiring. It is a problem, and it is something that needs to be addressed. So I'm glad to see the initiative getting to this point where we can dig into it ourselves. That's it. Thank you.
Yes. Could I just add?
Yes.
Just for clarity too, Councilor Houseman, I think maybe this was clear, but I was not in any way trying to suggest that you were not empathetic to those things, just sort of a both and, I think. So, thank you. I apologize.
Yes,
Madam
no,
Chair.
no apology necessary.
Exactly, yeah,
Much of
thank you.
what was said previously, I am in agreement with. I am extremely grateful for the work of the DPW and all the work, the good work that has gone into this to get us to where we're at, which is sorely needed. And we do have a really hardworking team that I want to retain and be able to hire at the best levels going forward to keep pace with the market, for sure. And as was said during their process, though, that the good work does take time. And with that being said, I don't feel comfortable doing our good work, getting the information today to make a sound. I want this to be a decision we're all happy with and comfortable with and proud of to make, not something that we do under duress, because I don't think that builds the best long-term plan. And at this point, with the timeline, we're not talking years more, we're talking weeks more, and I just think that that will make all the difference in everyone's comfort level and to come to the right choice for the city together. But that's not to minimize the fact that it needs to happen, the work needs to happen, and I'm supportive of this work being done. So it is my thought as a chair that I would like to hold this in committee until our next meeting, if possible, if that would be.
Yeah, I fully support it. I mean, I think that's the appropriate step to take at this point.
Representative Flowers, I'm sorry, I keep calling you Councilor Flowers.
That is more than fine. I absolutely can agree with that. I think being able to name and affirm, which I think we're doing, I think we're trying to be very clear about the fact that I think what I hear us all saying is that we recognize both the importance of the process that's been undertaken and the importance of the work that's being done by the team in our Department of Public Services. And so this is just a chance for us to be able to think together about all of the information, not a way of suggesting that we're trying to signal that we're not supportive of the work that's being done or the work that's been done. And so I think it's worth noting that as folks are trying to follow this process.
Agreed, yes. All right, so with that, we can just hold it, right? Yeah. All right. So that being said, are there any further comments by anyone on the subcommittee?
I think we're ready to have a motion to adjourn.
All right, I would entertain the motion to
So
adjourn.
move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Finance and property adjourned, 8:43.
Thank you very much, everyone. I'll call the full council back to order following that subcommittee break. With my thanks to the subcommittee chairs and subcommittee members for the work that you did during that time. And we will go now to reports from committee. Please, Ms. Ken.
Order number 58, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom referred the matter regarding a proposed amendment on Chapter 117-Animals, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the council receive this and place it on file.
Councilors, I would entertain a motion to receive that and place it on file.
Which order? Sorry. Order 58, the original?
Yes, sorry, this is the original version that we had received of this proposed ordinance change, and now it's been refiled with changes. So this is a motion to receive and place on file the original order. Any further conversation? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. That carries 9-0. And thank you, Councillor Spang, for that question to clarify that for everyone.
Order number 74, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom referred the matter regarding a motion to reconsider the vote taken at our February 2nd, 2026 meeting on Order 58, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Receive this and place it on file.
I would entertain a motion to receive this and place it on file as recommended by the subcommittee. All those in favor? Aye. That carries 9-0 as well, so we'll receive that and place it on file too.
Order number 99, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom referred the matter regarding a 2026 renewal of flammable registrations. Oh, consider said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the license be granted.
I was really waiting in suspense.
In my brain, I said it.
Councilors, I would sorry. The question, are there questions or comments? I'm sorry, no, I'm all out of order. Are there questions or comments on this one? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. That carries 9-0.
Order number 100, the Committee on Legal Affairs, to whom referred the matter regarding a new secondhand junk dealer license for Courage Rad Jewelers Corp., 100 Cummings Center, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the license be granted.
Questions or comments on this one? The question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. Carries 9-0.
Order number 98, the Committee on Finance and Property, to whom referred the matter regarding an $8,500 grant from the Department of Fish and Game to support free seasonal pump on outboat service, have considered the matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend this council approve this request.
Are there questions or comments on this one? Question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. That carries 9-0.
Order number 40, the Committee on Public Services, to whom referred the matter regarding Councilor Spang's Public Services Committee priorities, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Receive and place on file.
I would entertain a motion to receive this and place on file as recommended by the subcommittee. All those in favor? Aye. That carries 9-0, so we'll receive that from Councillor Spang and place that on file as well.
Order number 84, the Committee on Public Services, to whom referred the matter regarding National Grid Petition 312-47668 to install underground electric conduits on Dodge Street, have considered said matter and beg leave to follow. Recommend the petition be granted.
Are there questions or comments on this one? The question comes on the acceptance of the proposal and adoption of the order. All those in favor, aye. That carries 9-0. That's it. Thank you very much, Ms. Kent. That brings us to the end of our meeting agenda for this evening. I would like to just mention, by way of reminding both the council and any members of the public who are following along, that we do have a joint meeting with the Beverly School Committee that's scheduled for this Wednesday, March 18th. That will start at 6:30 p.m. and it will be held at the Beverly High School Library. As always, that meeting is open to members of the public to attend in person. BevCam also will be there, making sure that it's live and streaming for folks to be able to follow or watch later if they would like to get caught up on that meeting. As I mentioned, School Committee President Lauren DeVisnik is here with us this evening, and the entire school committee will be there with us at this meeting. We'll hear from the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Peter Cushing, have a legislative update from our state partners, and then hear a schools FY27 budget process and overview update from Emma Puglisi, as well as a City of Beverly FY27 budget overview and update from Mr. Brian Ailes. And then the school committee has a few other matters of business that they'll be taking up outside of the joint meeting. So again, that's at 6:30 this Wednesday at Beverly High School. Councillor Feldman very wisely pointed out that that also is 8th grade curriculum night at the high school. And so the parking lot will be perhaps busy and full. It's a busy place. And so Just a reminder to give yourself a little extra time as everyone's coming and going from the school. And there are also spring sports tryouts at the school, so we'll all share the parking lot.
Carpool.
And carpool if you can, yes. Are there other reminders or announcements from members of the council?
I'd like to wish you a happy birthday tomorrow.
Oh, thank you, Ms.
And
Kent.
to Ms. Kirker, a happy birthday on Wednesday.
Oh, happy birthday. Thank you very much. Ms. Kirker, you can join us for your birthday at this joint meeting, and we will be happy to celebrate with you. Are there other reminders or announcements? Thank you very much, Ms. Kent. All right, well, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? That carries 9-0. Thank you very much to everyone who joined us in the chamber and joined us on BevCam. Thank you to Kim in the BevCam booth. We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Good night.